Hi everyone, and good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're all well. I'm joined today by our wonderful speaker, Amy Hobson, who's going to be running the session around building a content strategy for social media. And I hope you all find that incredibly useful. Just before we start, a few things. We are live, so please bear with us. Hopefully everything works the way it should, but if a feed comes out or we have a little bit of audio issues, please just bear with us. We'll sort it out as quickly as we can. Again, for those of you who've been with sessions for us before, we're going to leave the chat open. We love seeing the interaction between you, and we will do questions at the end. But I would really ask, could you pop them through the questions tab for us? That way, if we don't get a chance to get through all of the questions, and we had hundreds last time, we can do our best to answer them afterwards. And also, we will be doing some polls throughout the session. So if we launch one, please click on the polls and answer, and really do get involved. It helps us. And lastly, before I hand over to Amy, is around feedback. We're going to drop some questions in at the end through the polls. It's really, please do click on and let us know what you think of the session. It's really important. And towards the end of the session, we'll also drop you all an email. So this video will be available for replay if it's helpful or useful or you want to share it. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Amy.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Building a Content Strategy for Social Media. And particularly thank you for joining me. If it's as sunny as it is where you are, where I am at the moment, it's a beautiful sunny day. So I will do my best to make you want to stay indoors, or maybe sit outside in the garden enjoying it. I don't know, but it is a beautiful day. So thank you for joining us today. I'm going to be talking about building a content strategy for social media. So just to give you some idea as to who we are and why I'm here today. So my name's Amy Hobson. I'm a digital marketing trainer and partner with Social Bee. And you can see here some of the big clients that we've worked with. I personally have done training with Superdry, Boohoo, Pyrex. I've worked with Visa alongside them in the Great British High Street campaign, which was loads of fun about 18 months ago. So you can see that we've got some fairly big clients that we work with. One of the beauties, though, of digital marketing, and this is something that I find myself saying quite a lot, is that it works for big businesses and small businesses. So just because you're not one of those names on here, or you're not as big as one of those names on here, doesn't mean that we can't work with you or we can't help you, or that the principles behind digital marketing don't stay the same, because they absolutely do. The only difference is normally whether or not you've got, or how big your pockets are, whether you've got a team doing it or whether it's just you. That's normally the only difference. Pretty much everything else you have the same access to as Coca-Cola, McDonald's. They may have a couple more functions, but the reality is that you have access to the same audience. So this is what hopefully you're going to leave with today. So an overview of social media content and why we need to talk about it, why a content calendar is important to strategic planning, so why you should have that as part of your arsenal, and why it's really important to make sure that you keep it up to date. How to create a content calendar, so we'll look at a few hints and tips for that as well, and some of the tools and things that you can use to organise your social media in terms of scheduling. So what is content? And I want you to kind of try, before I flick through onto the next screen, because it's a bit of a giveaway, but I want you to kind of try and think about, why do users go onto social media? Yeah, what's in it for them when they do it? Is it because they want to catch up with friends? Is it because they want to follow businesses? And in particular, think about, if somebody follows me as a brand, or if you follow somebody as a brand, why do you follow them? What's in it for you? What's in it that for you as a user, what do you get out of it? And there can be any number of different things that you can, or any number of different reasons why you would follow somebody on social media. So it might be that you have, that they want to share their user-generated content with you, so they want to share a video about your product or a review of your product or something similar. It might be that they start following you in terms of articles, blogs, because those are the kinds of things that they want to do. And all of these things that you can see on screen are the types of things that you should be doing to help drive engagement. So it might be that they want to see stats and infographics about you. It might be that they want to get involved in questions. It might be that they want to be a part of that. It might be that they want to join you on a frequently asked question night, or an evening, or a question evening, or an open evening, or a watch party. There's all kinds of different reasons why they might want to do it. They might want to follow you because they want to share a positive review of you because they've had a really good experience with you. They've seen you somewhere, they've come across your products, they've bought one of your products, and they want to share that with the audience. And you can do all of these things as part of that driving engagement. You can upload images and videos, you can create product-centric posts. Now, of all of these things, obviously there's loads of different things here, and within each of these, there's lots of different ideas that you can do. But the one that should be the least amount of your time is the product-centric posts with engaging and interesting content. Now, as businesses, we are on social media to sell. The reality is that our audience aren't on there to be sold to. They might be on there to discover, they might be on there to find out about your products, but they're not on there to be told to buy, or to buy now, or get now, or book now. That's not what they're following you for. They're following you for all the other reasons that you can see on here and all the other types of engagement that you can use and all of the things that you can do to add value to your customers' experience with you. So what's really, really important is to always think about, well, why are my customers following me? What content can I give them? What kind of things do I need to be talking about that isn't just going to tell them to buy, but is actually going to make their life easier, is going to feel like they're getting a benefit out of it? Because if all you do is sell, 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 then it's highly unlikely that you're going to be able to just sell, because you become very boring as a business. So if you've got loads of fantastic reviews about who you are and what your product is, fantastic. Yeah, don't put them all out in one go, because nobody wants to hear how great you are over and over and over again. Put them out every now and then. Remind people that they can leave you reviews, talk about your reviews, share your reviews. Yes, absolutely. And your positive ones, definitely. But do it on a drip feed basis. Don't just push them all out, because what you don't want to be is the friend on Facebook that nobody wants, or the business on Facebook that nobody wants to follow. So the friends on Facebook, we all know them. We've all come across them. Instagram the same, where their life is perfect. It's the perfect kids, the perfect day, the perfect lunch, the perfect holiday, the perfect family, the perfect lockdown, whatever that is. We don't really engage with those, and we don't resonate with those. We don't want to be a part of those. So it's important to not be that person. Don't just scream about who you are and what you're doing all of the time. So where to start with your strategy? How does that, what do you need to do? What does that look like? What is it that you need to be thinking about when you're actually starting and you're making a start in terms of content? So one is to be very clear on your objectives. And there are two questions that you need to ask yourself for this. One is, what do we want to achieve with our social media activity? So what is it that we're using it for? What are we trying to do? Is it to increase the number of leads? Is it to increase sales? Is it to improve brand awareness? Is it that nobody knows about you locally and you want to increase local awareness? What is it that you want to achieve? And the second question you need to ask yourself is, what does success look like to me? And that will be different. And both of these will be different for probably everybody who's online now and everybody who's looking at this. Yeah, there will be differences in that, because it's really important to figure out what it is that you want to achieve and what success looks like to you. Yeah, so you need to ask yourself those two questions first, and then that becomes your overriding aim at the top. Yeah, and then you need to build everything underneath that. So think about, in terms of a campaign plan for each of those things. And realistically, for each of the big things, so I want to increase local awareness. It might be that you have to get more people to an event that you're going to. It might be that you want to increase sign-ups to your newsletter. There's all kinds of different things and different mechanisms that you would use to get to those. So when you've got those things in place as well, so think about, well, I want to increase brand awareness. So how can I do that? What are the tools that I'm going to use? What are the methods that I'm going to use to be able to do that? Then underneath all of those, you're going to build your objectives. So this is exactly what I want to achieve. So think about those in terms of SMART. Is it specific, measurable? Is it, think about all of the SMART objectives and think about how you need to turn it into those. Is it achievable? Is it realistic? Is it timely? Think about your SWOT analysis. So what are your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats? So a weakness might just be that you're actually not very confident on social media, that you've got loads of things to talk about, which is a strength, but your weakness is that you maybe don't have a very large audience at the moment, or you just don't know how to start it, you don't know what content to create, or you've got lots of ideas, but you don't know how to actually put those out there. Think about your audience. So who is your audience? When you're talking to your audiences, you need to be speaking to your audience. You don't have to speak to everybody. The people you want to be speaking to are your customers, your super customers, the customers that you would happily repeat and duplicate across all of your marketing. Think about your product. So what is it that I want to sell? Whether you're selling a service or whether you're selling a product or whether you're selling a belief or an idea, you're still selling something. And think about timescales as well. So how long is this going to take me? And all of this should be building up your content strategy. Very often with content, what happens is that we start right at the very top. Yeah. Sorry, we start right at the very bottom. We ignore the top part of what I've just talked about. So we start at the bottom where it's content, content, content. I have something to say. This is what I'm going to say, and I'm going to put it out there. We don't think about all of the other things as well. So will this match our audience? Will this meet our audience? Will this be the right way to connect with my audience? Are they interested in what I have to do? Is it going to make them do what I want them to do? Rather than just filling a space and shoving product out there. It does work for some people. There are always examples of people who have a very product-rich timeline or a very product-rich feed, but they're very lucky in that their followers are obviously on there to be sold that product. Yeah, they're following them in the knowledge that they can buy that particular product. For the vast majority of social media accounts, that's not the case, and that isn't going to work for us. I can give you countless examples of people who have switched to a more friendly, more sociable feed and have increased their sales because of it. Obviously, you always need to be clear on your mission statement and your brand values. So you need to know who it is that you are, what you stand for, what's important to you when you're on social media. Obviously, if it's not just you posting, make sure that everybody who's posting knows that voice, understands that voice, understands what makes good content, what makes bad content, and then measure and report right from the very start. So start measuring now. Take a snapshot of where you are now, start making changes or start introducing new things. Or if you're at zero because you're starting out new, you know that that's zero. And then gradually build it. Think about where you are now, where it is that you want to be, and then build that towards those. And one of the really important parts of any content plan and any content strategy is to have a content calendar. Now, in terms of your content calendar, what you need to make sure that you're very clear on first is what you're trying to achieve, who it is that you want to speak to, and all of those things. Because once you've got all of those in place, content actually becomes much easier to create. It becomes much easier to be able to come up with the right type of content if you've done all of your research beforehand and you've done all of those important steps first, if you like. Because once you've got those, that will then give you the information and you should be able to answer all of these questions. If you can't easily answer all of these questions, you need to go back a step, do a little bit more research into your audience and what it is that you're doing first. So in terms of so you've gone through all of your questions, you've done all of your research, you understand who your audience is. Then think about these objectives and how your objectives then feed into these questions. So who is it that you want to connect with? So have you identified your audience? Once you know who that is, you'll be able to answer the rest. What content will you share? So what content do they particularly enjoy? What content have they engaged well with in the past? What content do they enjoy off your competitors? What content seems to get a higher engagement? How will you interact with people? So what type of thing is it that you need to do? Is it video? Is it blog? Is it text? Is it flash sale type things? Is it promotions? Is it live video? What is it that gets the most reactions from your audience and from your particular audience? And if you don't know that yet because you haven't put that content out there, look at your competitors and see what they're doing. You don't want to be them, but you may need to create similar type content or use similar tools for that content. And also think about who your ideal customer is. Who else do they engage with? What kind of content do they engage with somebody else? Even if they don't compete with you and they're a slightly different company or a completely different company or a different brand even, if you know that your audience likes them as well, then what kind of content do they engage well with there? And if you've still got very little idea, then you need to experiment with it a little bit. How often you need to interact with people is very often related to how you want to influence people to act. So if you wanted them to come along to an event, you're going to approach that very differently than if you wanted them to sign up to your newsletter, or if you wanted to drive people through to a particular event. If you wanted to drive people through to your website, you're going to do those very differently. So think about how you want to influence people to act. What do I actually want them to do? And then think about how often you need to interact with them to be able to do that. So something like an event where you want people to come along to an event, to an open house, or to a special event, to a sale. You need to build excitement about that. So you need to be talking about it a few weeks beforehand, save the date type stuff, really excited to be launching this, or really excited that we're going to be doing this. So talk about it in advance. Talk about it gradually more and more as you get closer to it. If it's a particular event and you want people to come and see you, let you know whereabouts you're going to be, what's the best times for them to come and see you, what's in it for them if they come and see you. You're going to be handing out freebies or free consultations or whatever that is. So think about that in terms of, and then once you've got that excitement going, then think about that for the day. Can you do a live from the day? Can you do those other things from the day? You know, can you be posting live, set up at the stand or the exhibition hall or whatever that is, wherever you are? So really kind of trying to entice people in to make them want to come and see you. If you're getting people to sign up to a newsletter, that's going to be slightly different, because that's going to be much more of a drip feed basis. So every now and then you're going to remind them that your monthly newsletter is available. Follow us for. Yeah, so let people know if they subscribe, they might get better information, earlier information. They might have pre-access to sales if they're on your subscribe list, all those kinds of things. So think about, well, yes, we need to get them on there because we know we can convert once they're on there. We've got quite a good conversion rate on our emails. But if you talk about it in the same way as you did an event, it wouldn't work. It needs to be just that gentle reminder, gentle nudge, reasons why they should be signing up for it. And in terms of your content strategy, I've been in digital marketing for a while, and I know that there is nothing worse than sitting at your computer screen and blank. All you see is literally tumbleweed in the distance, because you cannot think of what it is that you need to say. You're struggling to get your message across. You're struggling to think, I've already created content all week. I have no idea what I'm going to put out now. But a content strategy will help you with that, because it will help you to fill in those gaps. And in terms of a content strategy, excuse me, and building a base for that, think about the things that you know you have to talk about and fill those in first. So build yourself a calendar. Now, whether you do this in Excel, whether you have it on a paper diary, whether you do it with a download, and there's loads of different free download tools you can use for this. Use it to build something that will allow you to give yourself direction, that will allow you to fill in the gaps, that will allow you to plan ahead for the times when you know you're going to be really, really busy and you're not going to be able to devote as much time to it, so that you can schedule that content in where you need to. And that you can also potentially share with others as well. So have that as part of a kind of your branding vision, if you like, that this is what we want our social media to look like. So think back to the first two questions we asked. What do we want to achieve? What does that look like to us? Who is it that you want to be on social media? And how can you build that within a calendar? Yeah, so think about the things that you know you have to talk about. Your key dates, national holidays, Easters, Christmases, all those kinds of things. Think about the key dates that potentially affect your audience. So if you've got a audience of parents, for example, then they're going to be affected by things like homeschooling, by half-term holidays, back to schools, summer holidays, you know, fun and free things to do with the kids, those kinds of things. So think about all the other things that they have an interest in and that you can be talking about with them. Yeah, and think about the kind of conversations that you would normally have with your customer if they were face-to-face with you. You wouldn't just tell them to buy now. You would have a conversation with them. You'd try and figure out a little bit about their wants, their needs, their budget, all of those kinds of things. And you'd have a conversation with you. If somebody walked into your store today, and wouldn't that be lovely? I appreciate at the moment that's not going to happen. But if you've got a bricks and mortar store and somebody came in, you wouldn't just walk up to them with the first product that you picked up off a shelf and tell them to buy it. On social media, that's what we have a tendency to do. Yeah, your good salespeople and you will have learnt the art of talking to your customer, making them feel comfortable, knowing when you need to prompt them or when they may need a little bit of help. You look for all of those signals. And you can do that on social media. Yeah, you can do that through looking at how your audience react to the content that you put out there. And then all of that information you will be building into your content calendar. As you learn from them, you can improve your content calendar so that you get a sense of who they are as you start building that relationship with them on social media, and then put that into practice in the coming weeks. So you do need to think about the types of content. So what have they reacted to well in the past? What should I do again? Did live video work for you? If you haven't tried it, give it a try. Imagery, what kind of imagery seems to grab their attention? Videos, how long are the videos? Should they be short videos or longer videos? Informative posts, so letting people know what you do without actually selling to them. You're still selling them, you're still letting them buy into who you are as a business and what you sell, but you're doing it without shoving it in the face and telling them to buy now. And then as part of that content strategy, you also need to think about which social media channel you should be on. The one that one should be is where you absolutely, your audience hang out. So you could have the best Twitter profile in the world, but if your audience all hang out on Instagram, it's a complete waste to you. So think about the social media channel. Think about what day of the week, what hour of the day, when's the best one for that. And the platforms will give you that information if you know where to look for it in terms of insights or some third-party ones. So on Twitter, for example, you can see when your audience are more likely to be active using something like Follower Wonk, which is a free tool. And then build that into an actual calendar. So take all of those things that you've learned about your audience and keep building those into a calendar. Now with a calendar, what I would normally suggest is that you work on a 12-month basis. And I don't mean that you should sit now and plan 12 months of content. Heavens above, no, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that always try and think kind of 12 months ahead. So now, what do we know is going to be coming up in the next 12 months? Yeah, even really obvious things like if you always have a January sale, put it in your diary now as a January sale so that you know that you've got things that you need to be planning for and you need to be taking care of. Then think about it in terms of that's what's happening in the next 12 months. In the next 6 months, start adding a little bit more detail to those. So look at your events and then start thinking, okay, well, that's the date of our event. When do we need to start talking about it? Backtrack it and think about, right, I need to start talking about this now. This is when this is going to start kicking off. This is when I need to be contacting my audience and letting them know that this is going to happen in the future. And then look at your next 2 months and add a lot more detail to those, and particularly to the next couple of weeks, so that you know that you've got your imagery, you know what you're going to be creating, you know if you're going to be doing some videos, that you've scheduled that in ready. So there's lots of different ways that you can build that, but always have that plan in place. Always have an idea as to what you want to talk about, who we want to talk about, because the real beauty of social media comes when you're talking to the right customers at the right time on the right platform with the right content. Yeah, if you've got those 4 things, it will make it a lot easier. And these are just a couple of examples that I've come across that work really well, and a couple of companies who I know create really good content on the different platforms. So this is an example from Facebook. So obviously, as you can see, and these are 2 companies. This is Don't Buy Her Flowers, and the other one is Karen Davis Sugarcraft. Now, Karen Davis Sugarcraft, obviously all about sugarcraft, all about creating the right kind of cakes, cake decorating, icing supplies and all that kind of stuff. But they are really good at the content that they create both on Facebook and on Instagram. So they're definitely worth checking them out. They have obviously really good products. They have some great products that they can showcase because they can showcase these amazing cakes. But they also have a really good user-generated content that they use as well. So they encourage their customers to share their products. So this is one where somebody else has made it using their products and they've then shared it. So it's a really good way of kind of getting your customers involved, is allowing them to show off what they've done using your product, or allow them to show off them using your product. Yeah. Lots of our audience like to do that, and user-generated content. We're very nosy as users, so we want to see what other people are doing. And actually, you telling me how easy something is to use when you're a professional at it isn't going to make me buy into it as much as an amateur using it and it looking professional, because I can resonate with them more than I can with somebody who does it for a living. Don't Buy Her Flowers are a fairly small company, but they have a really strong Facebook presence. They're very good. Basically, you can kind of pick and mix a hamper. You can create your own selection of products through their website that are then sent to somebody as a gift, or that you can purchase as a gift to pass to somebody. But what they're very good at doing is they tag in all of their suppliers, so that they're kind of giving recognition to them. They're talking about, they ask people to create their perfect hamper. They ask influencers to create their perfect hamper so that they can kind of pull together those products and that they can showcase those products at the same time. And then Facebook stories. Facebook Stories has 300 million active daily users. So there's an awful lot of people who are using them. There is an awful lot of people who watch them. And one of the key advantages with Facebook Stories, in the same way as it is with Instagram Stories, is that Facebook put a lot of preference on this. So Facebook will showcase the stories within a user's feed. So if I follow somebody, I'm much more likely to see their story potentially than I am to see their content. The other thing with stories as well is that stories allows you to kind of build a picture. So you can build a picture of a day in the life of you, a string of your products. You can showcase it in terms of the new items that you've just added to your stock list. There's so many different ideas that you can do with this. You can get creative with adding stickers and things like that over the top. So there's lots of different ways that you can use it. And these are just a couple of examples that I've come across over the course of the last couple of weeks. The one on the left is a company called Becky's Brownies. Becky's Brownies are a local business. They're based local to me. They're based in the Midlands, and they supply to quite a few cafes and shops and things like that. Obviously, lockdown caused massive problems for them because they were no longer able to supply cakes and products to the shops that they supplied because they were all closed. So what they've managed to do really, really effectively, and I'd definitely check it out. I've still tried. Have still not been able to get a box of their brownies. They release them pretty much every week at 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock. They create loads of conversation about them first, what's on offer, what the mixed brownies are. They do gluten-free stuff as well. They've done other like truffles and things as well. And they sell out within minutes. The first time that they went live for people to be able to sell them, I think she sold out all of her boxes of mixed brownies within 2 minutes. Yeah, because she created the need by creating the excitement and by creating the right content that really appealed to her customers. And as I said, I've actually set an alarm for it and still not managed to get a box of brownies from her. So if she's watching, you know where I am. But there are companies out there who are using that sense of excitement. And one of the ways that she does that is with Facebook Stories. So she will appear in my Facebook Stories quite often. Another one, which I'm sure you're all familiar with Not on the High Street. This is using Facebook Stories to create the Maker Monday. So this is the section of about 6 slides. I've only shown 3 here, where they're kind of showcasing one of their makers. There you can see on the front one, they're using the new Support Small Businesses sticker that's available on Stories on Facebook and on Instagram. So you can ask your customers to do a story themselves of the product and tag you in it. You know, offer a prize for the best one if you wanted to, or a voucher for the best one, or just offer to showcase them on your own website or on your own feed. Those kinds of things that you can do with that. And then you can see it just takes through. There's a couple that are videos. So the one in the middle is actually a video of her doing the outline of a sketch for one of the products that she's making, and then it showcases a couple of her pets as well. So a couple of the dogs that have featured in her work, and one of them that's hers, which is very cute. Cute fluffy cavapoo or cockapoo or something similar. So it was really, it kind of shows a little bit about her. It builds a little bit of personality, but it also encourages you feel like you know her. And people do business with people, so we still want to buy products from people that we feel that we have a connection with. It's not just about selling to or buying something that we don't know. Yes, we still do that. But particularly if you're an independent store or a small store, what really you have the advantage over bigger stores is that you can really understand your audience. So, for example, on Facebook, I've bought some products off a company called Preston Sweets, who I really fell in love with. One of them, I ordered some of the products off, asked her about this one in particular that I'd had in a box that I bought my boyfriend for Valentine's Day, and that I would really love some more. And then a few days later, she sent me just a little bag, but she sent me just a little bag in the post, out of the ordinary. I just wasn't expecting it. And it was such a lovely thing to do. And guess what? For the cost of one product, one small little amount of product and postage, second-class postage on a small box, I'm now pretty much her customer for life. I talk about her in this kind of thing, and I keep coming back to her, and I see all of her content in my feed because I've engaged with her. So as a small business, you actually have that as an advantage if you can get the formula right. So these are a couple of examples from Instagram. So you can see on the left, this is a company called Letterfolk. They are an American company, but again, they're really good at sharing their user-generated content. They're really good at being reactive. So they'll change their board to reflect the current situation, whether it's the day of the week, whether it's, talking about, kind of like having a bad hair day, as well as then embracing other things like the stay home with lockdown and all of those things that run alongside it. So what they're doing is that they're connecting with their audience because they understand what their audience are talking about. So they know that those things affect us. And then what they do in turn with this is they use this as like the birth announcements. So they encourage their audience to use their products in lots of different ways, give them lots of ideas of how to do that, and then share that on their content. It's just a small husband and wife team based in America, but they have an enormous following now, and their business is doing really well. And then on the right, you've got a small, again, local company to me in the Midlands. You'll see a couple of local companies here just because this is where I live, this is where I network, these are the businesses that I know. But this is a company called Lucy and Jane, who you'll also see a second in the stories as well, where they are small jewellery manufacturers and jewellery resellers, and they've got a really nice following on Instagram. They connect with their audience, they talk to their audience in the right way for it. And you've got here a couple of different examples of some really nice stories that I've come across in the last couple of weeks. You can see on the left on Instagram, so this one on the left is a small business again. It's a business that I've come across recently. So definitely worth having a look, create some really lovely content. Both of these, the one on the right had the little rainbow with moving stickers. So they've been selling a lot of rainbows in lots of different colours and weavings. And then on the left, you can see this is actually a video that shows it as it's being spun around. And then on the right, you can see that this again is Lucy and Jane. They've got a poll on there, so they've asked which one do you prefer? Is it the gold, the silver, or rose? Which one is it that you like in terms of which one would you choose? Fairly simple to add those things in Instagram stories. Then you've got in the middle where you can see all three together, and then on the right talking about how they've sent or how one of them is a partnership, two ladies who run it together who've been friends for a very long time, and how one of them, their son has created a hug to send in the post to his grandparents. So kind of all of this is part of the same story. So talking about almost like a day in the life of, we've got these products, but this is what we're also doing. We've got these wonderful products that you can send as gifts. They're still posting, reminding people that they can still order. And Instagram has 500 million active daily users. And also you can go live within Instagram stories as well. So it's a fantastic way of connecting with your audience. Example as well, this company called might have lost.
Hi, Amy. We've got sound back now.
Okay, bear with me because I've got. Is that back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can definitely hear you.
Right. Okay. Marvelous.
The joys of live.
Oh, always adds a little bit of excitement to every day. So the content examples here from Pinterest, this is a company called Rose and Grey. And one of the things with Pinterest is a really powerful tool for independent retailers, for anybody who's got an e-commerce or a product to sell. It works as a search engine as much as anything else. So it's where a lot of people, predominantly women, it's about an 80% or just over 80% female audience, slightly older female audience as well than Instagram. And this is where we go to discover, where we go to find aspirational things, where we go to find out things we're going to have at home one day. So on my boards, I love Pinterest. I'm a fairly regular pinner. Then I've got a board about what I'm going to have at home one day. I've got a board that contains a wine cellar that goes into the kitchen floor. I've got one that has stuff for my boys. I'm a mum of 4 boys, so I've got one that's got a climbing wall inside a bedroom, which all of my boys would absolutely love. I'll probably never have it, but I'd love to have it. It's that discovery type thing. And as somebody who regularly pins, they will go to Pinterest to discover stuff to particularly buy. Yeah, because they like to buy. It's a very engaged. We go to, if you're a regular pinner, you go to 39%, I think it is, go to Pinterest before they go to Google to buy certain products or to look for certain products. So my feed is always full of, the outfits, recipes, because I use it quite a lot for food and for recipes, for hair colours. So I've very recently gone red. I'm going to stay red for a little while, but then I might go another colour, who knows, the excitement of life. I look for my next tattoo, because I'm always planning my next tattoo. I've only got 5. I haven't had one done in a few years. I had got one booked that I had to cancel because of lockdown, but I'm always planning those kinds of things. So when you're on Pinterest, the important thing is to not just think about what your audience wants to buy from you, but the other things associated with what they want to buy from you. So if you sell home accessories, you would definitely want one. You definitely want a board that talks about different colors, different color themes, color schemes, the right colors to put next to one another, all those kinds of things. Lots of different room sets showing your products where people can actually see themselves. And they can think, oh, I'd love a lounge like that, or I'd love a bedroom like that, or I wish my kitchen looked like that. What can I buy to make it look like that? And rose and grey are a really good example of kind of switching up those boards. One of the, as well as working with Social Bee, I also run a women's only network group called The Connections, or The Connections for Women in Business. I've recently started a Pinterest board. I don't have a huge amount of spare time, so it's something that I've kind of done in the evenings. The board that sends most traffic through to our website, rather than anything else, is a board that I have about inspirational women and quotes. So that's what's actually drawing our traffic in, not our stuff necessarily, but stuff about inspirational women. And we know that the women that we have and the women that we connect with like those kinds of things, motivational memes, all that kind of stuff. So we've got a board for those. And that's what drives the traffic through, not necessarily what we want to talk about, but the other stuff that we can talk about with our customers at the same time. And definitely, if you're not already, think about video and how to go live. Or if you are already going live, let us know in the chat. Is it working for you? Do you find that it works? Because it is for lots and lots of businesses. Things like explainer videos. We like to go to video for information and to find out more about what businesses are doing and to find out how to use products. So makeup products, how to paint a room, how to use all those things. I'm obviously in lockdown. My boyfriend is now a YouTube trained hairdresser, or he thinks he is, because he coloured my hair for me recently. We had to do it again because he hadn't quite got all of the points, but I also have a lot of hair, so you know, fair dues to him, to be honest. But we will look for explainer videos. So 96% of us will watch an explainer video. So think about that how to how to home colour your hair, how to create the perfect dinner party, how to, all of those different things. Think about all of those, how to decorate a room, you know, all of those, you know, how to completely renovate, whatever that is. Think about those how-to questions. Video generates 1200% more shares than images. So we are much more likely to share a video that works well. Yeah, so we're much more likely to share that than we are just an image. You can get 41% more traffic from searchers. So if somebody does a speculative search and there's a video, then 41% likely to click on that. Fantastic. 40% increase in the chance of purchase. So if they see a video, see the product in use, fall in love with it, they're much more likely to buy. 40% increase in the chance of actually purchasing something. 74% of millennials in particular will find video helpful when comparison shopping. So am I going to buy from this or am I going to buy from there? Who is it I'm going to buy from? They've got a video that explains it for me. I'm much more likely to buy there. And 80% prefer live video over blogs. So rather than reading about it, they'd much rather watch you talking about it. Yeah, and live video, I know, can be scary. It's one of the things that I come across a lot in the networking that I do, and even bigger companies where they have to go live, that can be a little bit of a tense moment actually going live. But live gets easier the more that you do it. Join challenges, join networking groups where they do it. If you're uncertain or you don't know how to do it, or you just need to have a bit of a practice, yeah, just go for it. Do it, try it. Nowadays, particularly where we're all on camera, I had a normal phone call the other day rather than a Zoom, and it felt just a little bit weird because we're now getting more used to seeing ourselves on camera as well. So go for it, absolutely. And also think about it, particularly if you're product-based. Yesterday, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook announced some changes, including Facebook Shops. Now, I haven't been able to talk about it today. By all means, if you do a search for Facebook Shops, they've written a blog about it that covers that information. It literally came out yesterday afternoon, so very new news for everyone in digital marketing, which is why obviously it isn't included in here. But going live, or what they're testing at the moment, and it should hopefully be available to more businesses, is that if you're going live talking about a product, you can tag that product and it can be bought within the app itself. Yeah, which is potentially a bit of a game changer for a lot of small businesses. It gives you potentially somewhere else to sell rather than your marketplace stuff. I read an article very briefly last night from the Financial Times talking about it, and it was kind of very much Mark Zuckerberg takes on Amazon. Yeah, so this is Facebook Shop. So check it out. As I said, we haven't been able to include it today just because it is so new, but obviously very relevant to a lot of you listening today and a lot of you watching. So how to manage your content. Scheduling is a really useful tool for this, obviously. The one thing I would say with scheduling is please don't just schedule because it makes you very unresponsive. Schedule your bread and butter stuff, but don't just then walk away. You still need to be responding to comments, responding to messages. You still need to be creating content. So there'll be lots of digital marketers scrabbling around about Facebook Shops last night and this morning because it's new and we all need to be getting on it and we all need to be talking about it. You can schedule within publishing tools, but you can also use the Creator Studio, which is a free tool available for Facebook and Instagram. So this allows you to also schedule your content to Instagram so that you can, you don't have to use a third-party app like Hootsuite or Buffer or one of those. You can do it within Facebook itself. However, it's not app-based at the moment. They do have an app, but it's a very limited functionality for this. So you can download the Creator Studio app from Facebook, but it's very limited. You can't create content. You can manage the content that you've got on there, so you can reschedule, although it's got a bit of a quirky Pacific Standard Time thing going on for it, which in the UK isn't much use. But you can manage content, but you can't create content in there. Hopefully that will come to us soon. So this is desktop based, but is an absolute godsend if you're managing Facebook and Instagram on a regular basis. You can see top sites in terms of insights. You can click through and see more insights about particular posts and those kinds of things as well. And then with Pinterest scheduling, you can also schedule with Pinterest as well, but you can't schedule as many or as far in advance with Pinterest. You can only schedule, I think it's a couple of weeks in advance, and there's only a certain number of pins that you can schedule. So it has slightly less use to it, I guess, than the Facebook and Instagram one does. However, it still means that you can schedule in advance. So if you know that you've got a particularly busy time coming up, you can use that. And in terms of scheduling and creating your content in all of those things, then you can, there's all kinds of different ways that you can manage that, whether it's a paper diary, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet, whether you use something like Trello, whether you use something like Buffer or Hootsuite to manage them, whatever that is. It's important to find something, though, that's good for you and that works for you and that you can use and that you're comfortable using. There's no point investing in something if when you get to it, you don't actually ever use it. And investing your time even in planning it if you then just ignore it. And you can use tools, as I said, so this is Hootsuite, which is a social media management tool. There are others, lots of others out there. Buffer, Sprout Socials are one of the best, I think, in terms of it's a budget. You have to pay per user, but it has got lots of brilliant functions on it, including a single inbox, so you can see everything that's coming into you in one go. So that's everything in terms of the content slides for today. Obviously, I'm going to be hanging around to be able to take questions. If you want to find out more about what we do or anything about digital marketing, we do regular roundups, we do regular blogs, we've got lots of free resources available. So by all means, please go to socialbee.co.uk/newsletter, where you'll be able to sign up for that. We also are offering 5, and this is strictly only 5 places. So if you want to get your own 30-minute free digital marketing consultancy session where you can talk about anything digital marketing to us, and we'll make sure we ask you a few questions beforehand so we can match you up with the best person we've got at Social Bee, then please email marketing@socialbee.co.uk. But be quick, they went incredibly quick on the last couple of videos that we've done. And we do have lots of other resources on our website as well that you're more than obviously willing to have a look at. By all means, just have a browse through. We've got lots of free resources. Digital marketing strategy template is one of those that we're selling this. We also sell this with an hour's consultancy as well. So depending on what it is that you're looking for. And if you go to, we've got a dedicated small business page, so socialbee.co.uk/small-business will take you through to our small business page where you can see what we're doing specifically to be able to work with smaller independent companies. So I'm happy to take questions. I'm sure, Suze, I
definitely have some questions.
Yeah, I'm trying not to watch the questions coming in because obviously it can be quite distracting while you're speaking, but I'm more than happy to answer the questions I can. If I can't answer them, then I can certainly find somebody that can, and we can find a way around that.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of questions come through and some really interesting points. I'm going to try and group some together. There's a few here that have come through around how to engage with younger audiences. So, for example, my customers, this is from Kathy, she says, my customers are mature and don't really use social media that much. How can I get a younger demographic to connect with her on social media and then visit her shop?
It's all about talking about the right content for them, I would say. So making sure that you're on the right platform. So if you're a younger demographic, obviously I don't know the demographic, but a younger demographic normally gravitates towards Instagram rather than Facebook. They're on Facebook, but they tend to be more active on Instagram, particularly in terms of connecting with brands and connecting with products. That's where they're more likely to. So potentially looking at Instagram, but it's about finding the right content that works with them. So as a younger demographic, be very specific about what that looks like. So give them a name, what do they do, where do they hang out, what other businesses do they follow or are they likely to follow, what other subjects are they interested in? Because you have to be able to talk to them about all of those things. You can't just kind of say, I want a younger demographic, so I'm going to go on this platform and they're all going to follow me. It'd be lovely if that did happen, but obviously it doesn't happen like that, unfortunately. So it's important to kind of figure out what conversations they want to have with you. And if it's in terms of actually visiting a physical store or a physical shop, then looking at maybe some of the local community stuff as well. So commenting on other local community items, as your business page, commenting on what else is happening in the community so that you can raise your awareness that way as well. It's not an easy fix. The other option obviously is that if you've got the budget to invest in it, then you could invest in a demographic, and you can be more specific about who you want to invest in terms of gaining followers. But if you are going to do that, make sure that it's part of a longer content strategy. So don't just buy followers and think that's it. Those followers then need to start engaging with you, which means you have to create the right content as part of that ongoing plan.
I'm just going to address this one. There's a few points in the chat and there's a few questions around here around some of our attendees in our chat are potentially over 45. Okay. I'm really asking, do people in that younger demographic want to see them live?
No reason why not. I don't see any reason why not. I sit in that demographic myself. It depends, I guess, on how big the age gap is. So I'm 45. My 17-year-old son definitely doesn't want to see me live on social media. But he's also not an audience that I need to connect with. So there's always going to be a certain amount of disconnect there. But if not you, then do you have people within that age group that you can use for that? So either younger relatives potentially or influencers within that age gap, within that age bracket as well. So are there people who you could potentially connect with to do those lives for you? But there's no reason why you can't be a part of that as well. I get that. I understand where they're coming from in terms of, you know, if there's a really massive age gap, like I said, in terms of me and my son. But if I was selling a product that his female friends wanted, I would be more than happy to showcase me, but I would potentially also look for influencers to work with in that area as well.
Yeah. Just to add to that, I think it's about confidence. If you're passionate about your product and your product is for that age group, I think just give it a go. And as Amy said, there is a question on influencers that I'll come to now, but there's no reason why you shouldn't try. And I think there's been a few posts in the chat as Amy's been talking that have been around people who've gone out of their comfort zone in the last kind of 2 or 3 weeks and gone live and had fantastic responses. So you don't know until you try.
Yeah, definitely. And I think look for, if you're really uncertain and you're really nervous about it, one, practice. So just go on to Zoom. Yeah, you can open up a free account or something similar. Just practice in front of a camera, in front of a video, so that you kind of get used to seeing yourself as well, because that can be really quite nerve-wracking, is that thought that somebody can see me. What can they see and how are they looking at me? So the other thing I would say is look for challenges. There's loads of people across Facebook who offer free challenges, live challenges, join local networking groups who offer it. So, you know, where they do like a live week or a live challenge, or you can go live within those. But you'll never kind of know until you try, but there are safer ways for you to do it if you feel that you're a little bit nervous. And just try practicing in front of friends, because at the end of the day, if you can do it in front of friends, you can do it in front of anybody, is what I would say, because my friends are much more likely to laugh at me and laugh in my face than an audience possibly is. So, you know, practice with friends, practice a couple of different ways. If you're more comfortable standing up, rig something up so that you can do it standing up. I'm a natural speaker standing, so I actually find it quite unusual to sit down and speak, because I normally speak in front of people where I stand. So I actually find if I'm recording, not for this, I am sat down for this, but normally if I'm recording, I'll stand up because I feel more natural. So find what works for you.
Okay, great.
Oh, I seem to have lost Suze. So I don't know if you've lost everything. You may not be able to hear me at all. Oh, Susan's gone. All right, so you can all still hear me, but we've lost somebody. Oh no, I think she's coming back. She's joining us again.
Of live. Thank you. I did say there could be a few things, so thank you so much for just
hiccups every now and then
with me for that one.
Yeah.
It didn't help the questions went blank as well, and Amy's a bit reliant on me for this section. Okay, so we have a few questions here around scheduling. You've touched on a few. I'm going to give you some quick fire ones, and then I'm going to have a quick look and get back to date with questions.
Okay.
What are some good sources for free scheduling?
Some of the free scheduling tools, it depends what you're using, obviously. Creator Studio is free within Facebook for Facebook and Instagram. It's a fairly intuitive tool. It's fairly easy to use. I would say you need a fairly stable internet for it. If your internet's a bit wonky, it can sometimes play up a little bit. But Creator Studio, definitely. Hootsuite do a really good free service. Where you can schedule lots of different posts to lots of different platforms, and they're always making changes and updates to that, so they've made it easier, I think, much easier to use. Pinterest, there's Tailwind, which is one where you get a certain number of pins for free, and then it's kind of a freemium service. After that, you need to pay for it. Or if not, within Pinterest itself, so within the scheduling tools within themselves, there's always this anecdotal evidence that by using a third party, you're not getting as much engagement, that the platforms obviously pick up on the fact that you're not there all the time, but certainly with Creator Studio, that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. It hasn't been around a really long time, so I guess there isn't a huge amount of information out there, but Creator Studio definitely for Facebook and Instagram as a free one.
Awesome. Now, remember we spoke about this in the first session we did, but I think again we've had a few questions on it. How do you start working with influencers? And is there a limit at which you should consider working with an influencer? As in, should you count them by the number of followers they've got? And I know that you answered this last time, but it'd be great if you could recap on that.
Yeah, influencers are obviously a hotspot at the moment in terms of digital marketing, because we do take, and there is certainly of a younger generation, they take a lot of stock in what influencers have to say to them and what products they're using and all those kinds of things. The key really for influencers is to find somebody who has got the right audience for you. So just because somebody contacts you and says, I'd like to collab with you on this, will you give me a free product, doesn't mean that their audience matches yours. Just because they like your product doesn't automatically mean that the people who they could potentially influence will as well. So when you're looking at influencers, the first thing is to look at their audience, look at their demographic, ask them for information. If they're an influencer with an established credibility or an established history, ask for people that they've also worked with. One, to check out to see if they've worked with anybody who directly competes with you, but also to see what success they've had with other people. And any influencer should be fairly open to you being able to do that and being able to contact businesses or organisations that they've worked for. Alternatively, have a look at their feeds, see what sponsored stuff that they've put in there. In terms of followers, or in terms of how much it should cost you, it's a little bit how long is a piece of string. It really depends. If you've got the absolutely perfect audience match, if it's somebody who you feel that connection to as well, and you have confidence that they would be able to showcase your product in the way that you want them to, then they're obviously much more valuable to you than somebody where you're thinking, oh, I'll just have a bit of a punt with this, it might be worth a go. I would say that you definitely need to aim for that first one and then be realistic about who it is that you contact. A smaller following may do it just for free product. A bigger following maybe that they want actual money, but also their followers, and there's been a lot of scandal about this recently, obviously, is that where they've just simply purchased followers. So are they genuine relevant followers? Look at their feeds. What kind of engagement do they get? Because it's not just about followers. I could quite easily go home from here today and buy 20,000 followers for me. Yeah, I'd start up an Instagram account and just buy lots and lots of followers with quite a broad reach where I'm just gaining numbers. I could go to a third party who does it with fake accounts. You just don't know. So look at engagement. So if they've got a huge amount of followers, lots of posts, but nobody's liking them, nobody's commenting, nobody's getting involved, then I wouldn't go anywhere near them. You want that engagement level with other sponsored ads and other sponsored posts as well. So do your research thoroughly before you jump.
Cool. So as we're talking about content strategy, and I think this has come through a few times as well on the question feed, but is it worthwhile to post different content or on Facebook and Instagram, or can you get away with posting the same thing?
Shouldn't be exactly the same. If you haven't and you have access to the video that I did a couple of weeks ago, you'll understand when I'm talking about meatballs. Because meatballs are something that I use then. But basically what you need to be doing is, yes, your content can be the same in that you want to talk about the same thing, but don't cut and paste, don't copy and paste it just across. It needs to be different. Instagram has a different language with it. It has a slightly different photo size. There is nothing worse as a digital marketer going onto somebody's page, going onto somebody's feed, seeing the same image, not cut, not resized, and it's just missing the edges on the Instagram one. That's lazy marketing, in my opinion. So apologies if anybody does that, but it's just a little bit lazy. There are lots of tools that you can use. So something like the Creator Studio, where you can post one to Facebook, and then you can, what I would normally say is cut and paste it, adjust your image size, and then adjust your message as well, so that you're talking about the same thing, but you're talking about it slightly different. So on Instagram, you probably want more emojis if that connects with your audience. You definitely want hashtags. Facebook, not so much. Hashtags aren't part of the language on there. The image needs to be slightly different. The tone possibly slightly different as well. So yes, the same content at the heart of it, but the way you deliver it needs to be slightly different and needs to be reflected on each of the individual platforms.
Okay, great. Next question. And again, I think this has come through in a few different guises, but do you have, a lot of people find it difficult to find original content. Obviously, it's easy to put a product-centric post up. Most of our kind of attendees have probably got lots of product image, but do you have any tips on where people can find inspiration to engage with their audiences?
A couple of things I would definitely say. One is think about the questions you're always getting asked by your customers. Yeah, so that's a great starting point for content. Yeah, so think about the questions you're always getting asked about particular products or about certain things, about what it is that you do, about who you are as an organization. Think about all of the things that you know sometimes you have to explain and re-explain, because that can be a really good starting point for creating the right content for your audience. If they're asking you those questions, that's information that they need to know. If somebody new comes to your page, you're answering that question for them before they've even maybe thought about it in that sense. So it's really important to use that as a basis. The other thing I would say is use your own content in terms of who you are as a business. If you're a small independent, shout about that. That's okay. If you always take your dog to work with you, or the dog's always in the shop, or it's great at the moment because you get to be with your dog, then share a photo of your dog. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Think about who it is that you are as a person, because again, people want to buy from people. That doesn't mean you have to give away all of your secrets, but think about things like new stock. If you're at a trade fair, talk about the trade fair, talk about coming to things like the autumn fair and spring fair, build a bit of excitement about some of the products that you've seen, sneak peeks, all that kind of stuff. And kind of think about it, that just because you've created one piece of content doesn't mean that that can't turn into other stuff as well. So it's content that you've put onto Facebook. That could be the start of a blog on your website or a vlog on your website. That could be the start of a how-to video on YouTube. So that one piece of content could actually become something else rather than just that one piece of content. So think about that as well. And then obviously, you can look at your competition to see what your competition are doing. Don't become obsessed with them, but sometimes how they do stuff, it may be a case of absolutely never doing that because that's not for me. But it may also give you ideas in terms of the kinds of questions that you can create, particularly if you're new, so you don't already have a lot of a bank of knowledge, if you like. Or simply look at one product. What's the questions that I'm asked about it? What information do I normally have to give to a customer? How do I sell this when I'm selling it? How can I create that into creative content? And then use tools like Canva and things like that that are free to, or free to a certain degree, to create the right kind of imagery, the right kind of graphics. You can add your fonts over the top. If you pay, you can have your font and your images and your colors and everything as part of that. And it works out about £15 a month, so it's still quite cheap. My laptop is about to die.
Okay.
The joy of live. 1 second.
The joy of live.
Yeah, that's that one thing I forgot to do before I got sorted. So give me 2 seconds
okay. We'll
while I
forgive
plug
you.
in.
We are coming up to the hour, and obviously
Yeah.
Amy's arranging her laptop so that we can do a few more questions. And while she's doing that, I'm just going to recap. I've seen loads of comments and questions from you all around the videos and the slides from the last few sessions. What I'm going to do, I've started counting, then I got to about 14 names. I'm going to send an email out to everybody on this list this afternoon that's been in this session with the links to previous sessions for you, and also the links to the Social Bee resources as well. So just look out for that for this afternoon, and I'll speak to Charlotte, who's in the chat as well, just to check the links so you can access the last few videos. And added to that, I've seen quite a lot of questions around Facebook Shop. I think Amy alluded to it, and also a few nuances around Facebook groups. Our session next week at 11 is an Ask the Expert session on Facebook with Ed Goodman from Social Bee. I would highly recommend, I'm going to put the link in that too, so that you can register if you're not already registered. That's one of the reasons I haven't gone into the Facebook detail questions, because I'd say go to that session if you can. Amy, are you all plugged in?
Yes, I'm plugged in on charge.
Okay. We'll do just 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah, that's
and then
fine. While
we'll
we do those, do you want to put the polls in the thing just so we can get a feel for those as well?
Yes, the feedback polls.
People are around. Yeah, in terms of the content.
Thank you
and stuff
for
like
reminding me.
Right,
okay. I'm just going to quickly publish the feedback polls for you, and then, yeah, that's good. And I think you should have them now.
What I've also done is I've just popped up a slide there for feedback. If anybody wants to use the link or go to the take a photo with the QR code, it'll take you through to a feedback form for Social Bee. We love feedback, good, positive, negative. We just want to know whether we're doing the right thing or not.
Yeah, and added to that, I have seen a few suggestions around Pinterest. I think it's a platform that a lot of people want to learn a little bit more about. So again, we're going to speak to the guys at Social Bee to see if there's something we can do on that in the future.
Yeah, I love Pinterest. I'm a regular pinner, and I'm a big fan of it for business as well. So yeah, definitely a pinner here.
Yeah, and I think I'm pretty much an advocate as well in terms of the way it can really drive SEO for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, okay, thank you so much to everyone who's filling in those polls on the feedback. It's really great. Okay, I'm going to just hit a few questions, and there's a really honest question here from Sarah, and I think this is possibly a session on its own, but if you could maybe just give a few pointers on it. She said that she posts things on Instagram, but she doesn't really know if it's achieving anything. What would you advise in terms of the measurements or the way that she can measure if it's really getting to the right people, or if it's really getting engagement with the audience?
Definitely use the Instagram Insights. So if you've switched to a business account, but it will only give you this if you've switched to a business account. If you do that switch, it will give you information. It won't give you, I think it has kind of different boundaries. So you get basic information to start with, and then depending on how many followers you've got, I think if you go past 100, you get a lot more information and a lot more data. But definitely go to Instagram Insights and have a look there. Alternatively, you can see some of those insights through Creator Studio as well. But they will give you information on whether you're male or female following, what age group they are, which posts are your most popular ones. It will also give you information on engagement rates and those kinds of things, so you can see how many engagements you've had. It will give you all kinds of different insights. It will also let you know when your audience are most likely to be online, so you can make sure that you're posting at the right time. So definitely have a look on Instagram Insights, and you can see for each individual, you should be able to see it by post as well, rather than just an overall within there as well, and within Creator Studio as well.
Yeah, great. And then there's somebody, I think this is more of a straightforward question, but I'm just going to ask it because I wouldn't know the answer. How can I run an Instagram live takeover without giving my password to the guest? Is there a way to do that?
I honestly don't know. I'm sure that there must be. One of the ways that you can do it is you used to be able to do live with. The only other way that I would imagine you could do it is through a third party. but I could be wrong on that. It isn't something I've done for a really long time. And I'm sure there's new technology that allows you to do that. I'd certainly be more than happy to find out for you. I'm thinking that it would probably be to use a third-party streamer where they have their own access and you give them access to your account. On Facebook, you can change so that somebody can be a live contributor, but I don't know if you can on Instagram. I'm fairly certain you can't. But as I could be wrong on that. So I don't know. I'd have to check.
That's great, and I think we might have a mix of retailers and wholesalers on the session. There's a question here from Andrew that's just popped up, which says that we're a trade business. Any advice on how to reach more professional buyers as opposed to the public platforms? I'm going to make a guess, Andrew, that maybe you're thinking, is there a way to reach those people on different social media platforms? So, Amy, I don't know if you could give any advice on that in terms of what you should be using those platforms for, as in, is LinkedIn a better route rather than Facebook?
Yeah, I would probably say so. Obviously, it's difficult without knowing the full business model, but I would normally say if you're looking for buyers, wholesale buyers, retailers who are on there as with a buying capacity rather than a selling capacity, if that makes sense. So with their buying head on, then I would do Twitter. I would say Twitter and LinkedIn. On Twitter, just do a quick search in terms of search retail, search procurement manager retail, search buyer retail, but management buyer, retail, and see who kind of starts to come up. And then LinkedIn, I would say definitely, where you're talking about kind of needing to encourage people who have their business head on, whereas with social media, we tend to be on there with our personal head on rather than our business head. If I could be a retail buyer, but I'm not going to be a retail buyer on Facebook. I'm going to be a retail buyer on Instagram or on Twitter.
Yeah. And I'll do one last question because I think this might be a little bit of an open-ended one for you. We have a new brand launching, and they're launching during this kind of time period. Do you have any tips on what is the most engaging content on kind of Instagram and on Facebook? And I think that touches on a few things that you've talked about earlier, but if you could just give a little bit more detail around that. Yeah,
I would say definitely video, using a product, using the service, talking about it, the advantages, those kinds of things. I would definitely say stories on both of those, both Facebook and Instagram. Obviously, it's difficult not knowing what the product is, but stories, Facebook and Instagram. Live video as well as fixed video. So live video where people can really see it being used or a product being used. So I would say definitely those for a start. Within that, obviously there's Facebook advertising as well. So if it's something that's completely new, or something that you can tap into an existing market where you kind of have an understanding of your audience, then I'd probably look at something in terms of Facebook ads or Instagram ads, depending on your demographic. But yeah, I'd definitely say video, showcasing the product, showing it, using it, being used, videos around how to use it, how to get the most out of it, those kinds of things as a start.
That's great. So what I take away from that is it's all about video.
Yeah,
great. I think it's good just to recap over it, because I think we're always looking for a quick fix or one size approach kind of fits all, but I think that's not really the way. I think video just gives you the chance to really connect. And I think, Amy, thank you so much. I know I can see from the comments so many people found this incredibly helpful. As I mentioned, I'll send you all a link to the previous sessions that we've run, and you'll also get a link to this one with the slides as well. And Charlotte's been responding to a few of you in the chat from Social Bee, but thank you so much, and thank you for sending us your feedback as well. And Amy, thank you so much for your time again.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye everyone.